Hi YouTube and Beamer fans, Engineer Boy 100 here, and Your Car Care Companion, which is my other YouTube channel, Your Car Care Companion. Just thought I'd do a quick, actually not a quick, a nice in-depth review of my favorite car on earth, my E36 M3. Had this car for about 12 years, 16 years old, and over the past 12 years or so I've done various projects on this vehicle. And I'll be the first to admit that all of the projects I've done are not the best, but they are optimal for me given my driving style and my budget, which may be also good considerations for someone else. So let's get started. I'm going to start at the bottom and work my way up. I'm going to start with the wheels, what I did with the bearings, the bushings under the car, and work our way all the way up to the engine, the intake, through the suspension, and all of the different modifications and upgrades that I've done over the years that I think are the best that optimize this awesome, ultimate driving machine. Okay, first up, we're in the back here. You can't see them, but I did change out the wheel bearings. One of the first things I did so that I knew they were fresh and new. Additionally, I changed all the bushings to urethanes. So you can see here on this sway bar, which is a UUC aftermarket sway bar, I have red urethane bushings here. And I also changed all the bushings, you can't see them, but on the transmission mounts and on the subframe. I have urethane bushings. If you can see the purple, right there, that's one of the subframe mounts, and the other one, let me see if I can get that, turn this around. Let me turn the camera around, get the other subframe. Okay, we got the camera turned around, and here's the other urethane bushing mount for the subframe. I think these were some of the best suspension supporting modifications I could have done. The next thing I did for the suspension, of course, I already mentioned the sway bar, but I also did control arms, and I'll show you those now. Okay, here are my UUC control arms. I bought them, like I said, from UUC, just like the sway bar here up above, and they really are nice, and they're also essential if you're going to lower the vehicle at all, because they're adjustable, and they allow you to adjust your camber angle on your wheels so that you can maintain the alignment that you need for the track, or a stock alignment for street, whichever is your preference. They're adjustable, and that's critical, in addition to looking absolutely awesome. So here you go, rear UUC control arms. Working with those control arms, I purchased yellow Coney adjustable shocks, which have been awesome. I think they're one of the best buys too for the money, and I actually got these used, but they're guaranteed forever, so I've had them for about 10 years and they've worked perfectly the whole time. The next thing I did was I rebuilt my half shafts, drive shafts for the rear. Took them apart, greased them up, packed them, put on new boots, and those have been working very, very well for the last 6 or 7 years too, both sides. So that's good for the suspension. Supporting those control arms, I rebuilt the differential here. You can see it's kind of cleaned up, and you can see a little bit of red sealer coming out from around the bottom here. That's because I had it out and apart and rebuilt it and cleaned it up, lubed it, and installed it again. So that is the rear suspension in a nutshell. So let's head out to the front suspension, check that out, and then we'll start with the exhaust, go to the intake, check out all the upgrades I've done under the hood. Then we'll take her for a drive. Okay, front suspension here. Here's the UUC sway bar that goes all the way across. And you get a little bit of a glimpse of one of the power pulleys here that we'll talk about when we talk about the engine upgrades. But there's one of my power pulleys that reduces the drag, parasitic drag on the engine, giving you some kind of giving you more horsepower, gives you more torque. Additionally, on the suspension here in front, of course, we changed the bushings to urethanes on the sway bar, and many times I'll show the suspension starting from the side, but I didn't want to distract from the suspension, because the first thing you notice when you start from the side is these big red Stop Tech brakes, and we'll talk about that later when we get into brakes, because I am a brakes guy. But what I want to show on the side is I got these ground control lowering springs, and I actually got these from a wrecking yard, Bavarian wrecking yard, Rancho Cordova, California, and I brought all four all the way around. I didn't get coilovers, but for the price, you can't beat it. I think I got these for about $100 a piece, so it's like $400 for all the way around the car. You can't beat that. With conies, front and back, you can't beat it. So it's awesome. They drive great. I also have up underneath an X brace. You can see it here to support the frame from the bottom. So that was very useful on the track. It helped to keep my frame from tweaking and twisting, and gave me much better control, much better feel, much more feedback from the suspension from the ground to the steering wheel, and that really invokes confidence when you're on the track. So yeah, I put an X-frame on the bottom, and to work with that X-frame, you may have seen in the very beginning, I put a strut bar across my strut towers on top, and this is a solid one, and it absolutely, in my opinion, for the money, is one of the best bangs for the buck that you can do on your car for suspension. It gives you better control, and even if you're not on the track, it gives your car better handling and a smoother ride on the street. And the way it gives you a smoother ride is the stiffening up of the frame makes the suspension do its job, and doesn't allow the body to tweak and for the engine bay to close and contract when you go over bumps. So I have one of these on my little Toyota Corolla as well, just because it smooths out the ride so much. So I can't say enough about the strut bar on the top side. Okay, so next I'm going to do the segment on the engine performance, and we'll start from the front and work our way to the okay side. So my intake, well, my intake starts with this cold air. This is a really good system. I actually have a K&N filter, but the actual cold air intake system itself was made by, see, what's the name of them? Evolution Air Intake Systems. It's a pretty good system. It has this felt on the outside here, combined with the aluminum metal, and that creates an air barrier. And later on, I'll show you the huge difference in temperature inside here versus the temperature outside, right on my my cylinder head. I'll show, or even on my intake, I'll show you the difference in temperature with a little digital thermometer, because it really works great, and people don't realize how effective it is to have something that creates that air barrier, because it's extremely insulating and keeps your air nice and cool, giving you a nice crisp throttle response, just like you have in the morning early. If you don't have a cold air intake, but when you drive your car in the morning when it's cold and it's very crisp and responsive, then by the end of the day when it's hot, it seems a little bit more sluggish or just mellowed out. You get that crisp throttle response all the time with these cold air intakes, and it's really, really nice. So the other thing I did was this is the 1999 E36 M3. This intake manifold is from the OBD1 1997, and it's larger and allows a little bit more air to go in, which allows for more fuel to go in, just a little bit, and it's not so much that it throws the computer out of whack, so you don't even need to tweak it with any software. And what it gives you is a little bit better top end torque. And I've heard people say that the low-end torque goes down, but I think that because of my exhaust and my power pulleys, that I don't feel any reduction at all. All I feel is a smooth torque curve, and at the top between 5,000 and 6,000 RPM, it accelerates even more. It's freaking crazy. So anyway, these are the main three modifications I did for intake top side. Now, one thing I did do, and I'll show a still shot of it, is on this intake manifold, I purchased a plenum, a little air plenum for the vacuum connections, and it's available on eBay. And I'll give you a shot of it before I installed it, a still shot in the middle here when I do the editing, so you can actually see what it is, because it was very convenient to have that when I hooked up all my vacuum connections. One piece of advice, I think they come with a little kit or something that you can reconnect your CCV hose, your crankcase ventilation hose. What I used was a 1-inch inside diameter piece of hose, and this works great. This works absolutely wonderful. It works way better. You probably never have to change it, and this is what I recommend. This is what I use, and it works great for me for many years. So that also was available on eBay. So working with my intake, of course, is my exhaust. So let's go back and take a look at that. And of course, that of course too was by UUC. See you in the back. Okay, as I promised, I'm going to show you the temperature difference in here. So I'm going to shoot just over there to the head. So you can see that's like 100, 147 degrees. Now let's go inside here on this air filter, and we're like 93, 92 degrees. Let's hit the metal part. That's 100, 105 degrees. So you got like a good, go there, 90 degrees here. Come over here, let's hit there. 130, 160. So you've got a good 50 to 60 degree difference from inside this area here to rubber, metal, 92. Let's get over here. Just hit the 95. So yeah, 60 to 70 degrees difference, and that's significant. So there you have it. Cold air intakes work.
You okay? Fine. Say.
Can you even see anything?
I see everything.
Cool.
There they are. Those are my UUC exhaust tips. Let's go down and take a peek at this stainless steel system, which is awesome. I love it. It works great. So, here she is. And this is actually a bolt-on part too. So you don't have to have any special tools. You don't have to modify your computer. You don't need any kind of software tuning to make it work with your original software on your car. You don't have to change anything. It passes smog year after year, no problem. And it's really a nice setup. I love it. It sounds friggin' great. Now this particular system has something, I forget what they call it exactly, what it's like, some kind of a noise canceling technology. So when the pipes get warmed up, it cancels out any kind of droning or any kind of excess noise. So when you drive this thing, it sounds freaking awesome, but it doesn't get loud. It doesn't get loud at all. So for me, that's a huge plus. I'm an old guy, so I don't want a bunch of noise. So these sound better than stock. About the same note, about the same amount of decibels, but much, much better. And of course, because of the free flow characteristics, you do gain horsepower. I noticed they claim like 15 to 30, but I'm thinking maybe 10 to 15 maybe horsepower combined with the cold air intake. Let's go upside real quick and look at one more suspension component that I forgot when I did the suspension, and that is I have a rear tower strut bar. So if you look in the trunk here, you can see that I have a strut bar right here connected to the rear. Here's the right side, connected to the rear strut towers as well to give me more rigidity and more stability in the back, forcing those tires down so that they can make longer contact with the ground. And I love it. It works great. Excuse all my little chairs. I didn't feel like moving them. But this is the rear strut bar for the rear struts, and it works great too. Okay, so now we get to start covering this beautiful machine that I have the wheels off right now because I just changed the speed sensors. But we're going to go ahead, take it out, take a peek at what it looks like, all put together with the tires on and the hood down, and we're going to take a little listen to what it sounds like, and then we're going to see it go zoom zoom in a drive-by or two. One other little, got the Vader seats here. One other modification that I did that I think is very cool. Again, sorry, I'm not plugging them, but UUC shift knob. I think it's the RK5 or something like 5. I forget what you call it, but this shift knob is freaking awesome. It's a solid stainless steel knob, and it feels amazing in the hand. In fact, it's so awesome that I modified one. I ordered a second one, modified it, and put one in my Porsche because I absolutely love this shift knob, and it looks crazy nice in the Beamer here. So there you have it. We've taken care of the suspension, the intake, the exhaust, the interior, and now it's time to get to the nitty-gritty and see how this puppy runs. Okay, so before I put the tires back on, let's cover the big brake system here. Initially, when I was going to do the big brakes, I contacted BMW North America, and I contacted actually Brembo brakes and StopTech brakes. And they all three told me that the brakes could not be installed on a vehicle that had stock rims. That is not true. You do have to do some grinding on one of the castings under here to make room for the mount bracket. So there's a mount bracket that you have to mount these brakes on, and that needs to mount square and flush. And there's a little bit of excess material on the casting back there that keeps it from mounting square. Once you grind that off, they will fit on 17-inch stock rims. I currently have 18s on here, but I also still have my track set of wheels, which are 17s, and they fit around these big brakes just fine. Now, big brakes, why use them? The added mass and the added size helps dissipate more heat. More heat translates into more braking. More heat capacity translates into more braking power. So when I'm on the track, I want as much braking capacity as I can get, and that's why additionally I also changed my brake fluid to Racing Blue, which has a higher temperature boiling point. These brakes, let me tell you, on an M3 are unnecessary, especially if you know how to drive. If you're not riding your brakes, and if you know how to corner, and you know how to find the line on the track, and you know what you're doing, you get some good high temperature pads, and that's all you need. You do not need big brakes. The reason I got big brakes, because they look cool. I like them, and I don't care what anybody has to say about it. I like them, they look cool, and there you have it. So I'm not a poser most of the time, but when it comes to my brakes, baby, let me tell you, I love them. So there you have it. Honesty right there out in the open. Okay, so we covered the brakes. A little piece I forgot to take care of. And other than that, I think we've covered everything except for the driving and putting it all together and see what it looks like out in the sun without the hood and the tires off and everything open, trunk open and everything else. So next stop will be the whole car put together.